Good afternoon. It's 4 o'clock. The Community Safety Meeting to order. It's Tuesday, May 13th at 4 p.m. Motion on the minutes. Okay. Next committee meeting date, June 10th, 4 o'clock here in the Anderson room. And sorry, did you want to add additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yeah. At the other end.
Okay, altered electric mobility devices to increase the speed while riding on roadways, MEPs and sidewalks. Okay. We'll add that as 6A. All in favor? Second. Thanks. Community Bylaws Monthly Activity Report, March 2025. Mr. Corrado.
To the chair, I have nothing further to add and I'm open to questions.
Second, all in favor? Thank you. Thank you. Richmond Fire Rescue Monthly Activity Report. Chief.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I have nothing further to add to my report, but I'm available for questions.
Motion? Second? Okay. Councillor Glanders.
Thank you, through the chair. Thanks for your report. Always very good information. Just wanted to comment on CS20. The first two significant events, it sounds like they were both a loss of life. The first one, removal of a body of an unsheltered individual, and the second one, a suicide. And we see the responses to situations, but we don't always see the outcomes or the coroner thing. So I just wanted to extend my condolences to the families and anybody affected by those losses. And thank you for reporting on those. And sorry. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. But yeah, good report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Heed.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just a few comments with respect to the opioid overdoses. And are you seeing, for example, this trend of indoor environment? Are you seeing, can you comment on it when your crews are attending on whether they're people that are alone or they're consuming their opioids with other people present that are witnessing it and phoning for the response?
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, I sitting here, I can't comment on whether people are alone or witnessed or with other people present. I can certainly take a look at our RMS to see if there's any captured notes from the during those events or not. We don't normally report on other people in the scene unless there's a criminal element involved or something, or we have to report to another organization. We deal with just the patients.
Yeah, I'm just, the concerns are somebody's notifying the authorities to have them attend to render medical assistance. I'm just wondering if they're just coming across them or, it's a family member that or someone that's witnessing, because as you know, I'm sure some of the other people in this room know that there was a massive campaign a while ago to try and make sure that these people that are consuming their opioids are doing it in the presence of other people in case they do go into some crisis, medical crisis with respect to that. So 9, and I'm just trying to look at my notes here. That is relatively high, 9 for indoor. And I'm just, can you lead me anywhere where we can do a comparison other than just month to month?
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, I'm very open and happy to, add another comparator in the monthly report. I do have to comment that month to month, depending on the weather, the environment, external activities, indoor versus outdoor is dynamic and it changes.
Yeah, I'm just looking for trends here because trends, not only nationally, but internationally are showing a reduction in the opioid deaths, at least, if we can, that's a very empirical piece of data with respect to that. So I'm just wondering if our trends are going down, and I know you're doing some work on compiling where we are with respect to that, and I know the RCMP are doing work on compiling calls for service related to some type of social order problem, most likely related to homelessness or drugs. But thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Wolf?
Thank you. Through the chair, it's not specifically in the report. I just don't know if it'll be a future significant event. I think it was late April around the Department of National Defense lands where a bunch of roads were closed down because it was, I think it was somewhat of a public hazard due to something being detonated or distinguished or something. Do you have any intel on what was happening in the armory lands that caused that, like traffic mayhem and perhaps risk?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, RFR did not attend that event. And so statistically, I don't have any reporting other than what I read in the media. And my understanding is that a citizen attended the armory with some old ordnance that they had been maintaining from a family member from years and years before. And so they donated it, and the military people reacted appropriately, and the RSMP attended, and that's the extent of my knowledge just from reading it in the news.
I didn't catch that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, there was an older gentleman brought in 2 grenades from World War II to the museum. So there's a museum at the armory, and we're not really equipped to take live grenades from people. Any motion? Motion on the minutes? Or sorry, motion. Second, all in favor? Thank you. Fire chief briefing.
I have nothing to brief today. Thank you.
Any question? Thank you.
Thanks.
RCMP monthly report. Superintendent Brotar.
Good afternoon. I don't have anything to add to the report. Ready for questions?
Councillor McNulty?
I just want to give a shout out to the RCMP and all the Speed Watch and everybody that's involved in traffic safety with the recent blitz in Richmond with regard to our drivers driving too fast, not stopping, not following rules and regulations. So having witnessed some of the work that's out there, I just want to say, take that back to the detachment, fully recognized, and a huge thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Heed?
Yes, thank you. Ma'am, I had a discussion with your chief the other day, and I'm just trying to pinpoint this because he was talking about, and he was just bragging about the reduction in, I believe it was the property crimes within Richmond. Was he pulling my leg or was he?
No, I think the monthly one have gone down significantly since the last month. Let me find the numbers. I'm sorry. Yes. And mostly all the B&E, auto theft and theft of auto, yeah, significantly reduction this month compared to the last month.
Wow, shoplifting 23, residential burglaries 28% year to date. These are year to date totals.
Mhm.
Auto theft 31%. So obviously something's going right in this direction. Now, I just want to make a comment again regarding our social disorder calls. I think this is such a valuable valuable statistic. And when we look at the number of calls, January 71, February 38, 49 in March. And then it's dwindled down to suspected and confirmed. And look at the confirmed, I draw it to everyone's attention. Look at the drug-related calls for service. These are the people in alcoves. These are people that are passed out in our laneways. These are the people that just down the way they complain about continually. Down to 18 for March. And I drive by that Alderbridge almost daily. And I got to tell you, I have to stretch my neck to see one person. I'm not even sure if that person is from that housing development there. So again, I think this is an incredible, valuable statistic. And certainly, again, my hats off to your organization for doing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Galanders.
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you for the report. Thanks for filling in. It's always good to see you here. Yeah, my comments are along the same lines as what Councillor Heed said. I don't have a question. I just want to comment on the report. When we look at CS 31 and 32 at some of the noteworthy files, like as Councillor McNulty mentioned, distracted driving, which is incredibly dangerous, is the leading cause of vehicle collisions and fatalities. So this is a crime, and we brought forward 75 charges and $36,000 in fines. The recovery of stolen goods, right? So quite often our unsheltered population or residents of TMH, we've seen here had speakers blaming them for all of the theft in the center of Richmond. And here we've got this massive bust of stolen, very expensive Tesla chargers and delivery packages, all at a house where people live, not the unsheltered population. So these are criminals, and these are crimes. And so I just want to highlight that, sometimes what's perceived safety and what is safety are two very different things. And it's easy to blame the unsheltered, unfortunate population because you see it and you think that it's unsafe, but really criminals are all around us at all stripes. And we're doing a really great job, policing in this city. And just as Councillor Heed mentioned with the drug-related calls going down so much as well, I think we're all walking back from, building back up to more orderly streets after the decriminalization that the province brought in and then took back. And we're really heading in the right direction. And I don't want to overly toot our horn because things go up and down, but it is really encouraging to see all these things that are below the average range. Residential break-in enters are below the average range. Commercial break-in enters are below the average range. Theft from automobiles below the average range. And drug-related calls are below the average range. And our crime rate is still the second lowest of the RCMP. So I'm just, we're doing a great job and keep up the hard work. And thanks for your great leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a motion? Second, all in favor? Thank you. Sorry? Oh, sorry. My apologies.
Actually, there's
Counselor.
nothing to do with the motion. It's about the victim services. So I noticed that you have a number of cases active, in March and things like that. Now, I think probably not today, but perhaps at another time, I would like to have some introduction about the victim service provided by the RCMP. For example, how long usually you provide the service, what kind of service you provide, how do you work with the other service providers in the community to support victims? Because, I am concerned that perhaps, sometimes the victims may not get the service in time or, for long enough, or, sometimes victims who have encountered multiple problems, they may have difficulty to navigate through the system. So maybe, sometime in the future.
Yes, most
Okay.
definitely through the chair. I can definitely bring something to this table, I guess, to bring you and educate you and inform you on exactly what they do.
Yeah.
They actually are there pretty immediate,
Mhm.
and they carry the victims through all the other services available to them within the community and also outside, depending what crimes or whatever it is that they're victims of. But most definitely, yeah, I think they would be valuable.
So suggest that perhaps sometime arrange a talk.
Thank you. All right, and briefing.
Nothing for chat. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Touchstone Family Association Restorative Justice Contract Renewal. Yeah, come and join us. Come.
To the chair, I have nothing to add, and staff invited Judy Valsonis from Touchstone, and we'll be able to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Councillor McNulty.
I don't have any questions. I just want to make a comment, and I'm going to move the motion with no problem. This is now the fifth time since we started. I remember when we first started in 2011 with Touchstone. And it's something that it's an investment in people and something that we can't measure the results because it's priceless. And I've used and even back then and 50 years ago when Councillor Heed was 14, we used it in the schools and brought it into the schools in Vancouver. And it was extremely effective in that. It's unique in Richmond, and I can only speak raves about it. I think it's a tremendous investment for us as a community, but more importantly, it's an investment for people, and that the persons that are involved in the process, that's the most important thing. So I just hope we can keep it going for the next 25 years, and Councillor Heath will be 30 by then.
Councillor Heath.
You're really trying to pick up after last night, aren't you? I gotta tell you, I'm a restorative justice fan, and being involved in it in the policing side when we were dealing with so many things. And I remember at that time running some of the neighborhood policing programs on Brown Commercial Drive, and that were one of the pilot areas for restorative justice. I don't think it's hit the full stride of where it could be. And I think that's possibly because of, governments have a very limited vision, and that's their elected years until they look at something else. And I can tell you when you talk, and I know you have, with not only the victims, but the actual accused that go through it, and how this is such a life-changing experience for many of them, realizing it's not for everyone, but for the people that it's had an unbelievable impact on. So I guess so again, I encourage this, and I encourage not only this government, but every level of government to get fully supportive of this, because as you know, priorities change. So I guess my question to staff is our fee in the amount of just over $110,000. Is that proportionate to what you're receiving from other levels of government, or where are we with respect to that?
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, the fee that we are contracting with Touchstone is a little bit more than what grant funding would be from the provincial government. Yeah.
So can I ask what we get from the provincial government on this?
Through the chair to
Or
Councillor
what
Heed,
Touchstone gets?
we have to defer that to Touchstone.
Yeah, the city actually is the core funder, Councillor Heed. Like it's been, Richmond stepped up. So the province funds $4,000, and not towards salary or coordination, but towards volunteer recruitment, retention, training. And it's very specific on how you use the money. And we haven't heard this year, but for the last 3 years, we've received civil forfeiture dollars, but again, not towards the coordinator, very specific, but it has allowed for us to have a mentor. And that mentor has also trained in restorative justice. It's one of our staff. we fundraise for the other portion of their salary. And it allows them to help those kids fulfill their resolution agreements. And it's very, helpful that way. But again, we normally hear by May 1st if we were going to get it, and we haven't heard yet. So I'm not sure what's up with the province on that. And we've always said that this city of Richmond, sort of there's a couple cities that do this, but it's one of the leading cities. And the province has, no matter how many conversations I have with them, they value it.
Okay,
But-
so the person that complains about us doing another government's role just walked into the room. And I got to tell you, we are fulfilling that role. So you're telling me now, because remember we were looking at surcharges on crimes. You recall that?
On big box stores? Is
No,
that-
on crimes.
Oh, okay.
Crimes that were committed, judges could give a surcharge, and that money was supposed to be kicked back into not only victim services, but certainly restorative justice programs. So you're saying you get absolutely nothing out of that?
We don't. We get the $4,000 from the province. Maybe that's where because anybody who runs a restorative justice program throughout British Columbia is eligible for that money and most likely receives it. So I'm assuming maybe that's how they get some of that money. I don't know how the province does their budget.
Well,
Honestly.
I'm astonished of the lack, when we look at the administration of justice, as you know, the administration of justice is under our Constitution Act in Canada comes to the province. And the province has that responsibility to administer that within their boundaries. And I think, Madam Chair, that we should be writing a letter to the province asking them to fulfill their responsibility on restorative justice. Here in the province of British Columbia, you've got some great stats here, and I think we need to, like, this government, this provincial government. I'm not going to go on a rant. Did too much of that last night, but I'm not going to go on a rant, but they're not fulfilling their responsibility. And, when you look at a program of this nature and look at the success of the program of this nature, you wonder why we have, problems fulfilling it when they're not living up to the responsibility, and why we have recidivism problems and all of that. So I'm going to, Chair, I can make a motion, but I think we should be writing the
We can-
province.
We can add it as number 4. We typically add this every time we get the report from Touchstone. We send a letter to our MLAs, we send a letter to the province, and we send the report that we receive from Touchstone and share it with our MLAs on the success of our program. So not only have we been behind it financially, we have been probably the biggest cheerleaders as much as we can. So absolutely, we can add number 4, letter to the province to fund a restorative justice in the province. And we'll forward a copy of the report to the MLAs and to. Who are
Absolutely.
we going after? Solicitor General?
The Attorney
The
General.
Attorney
The
General?
Attorney General, not the solicitor, the Attorney General mainly.
There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McNulty?
Yeah, just.
Whoa, hold it. More.
No,
I'm taking my.
I know.
Yeah.
I made the mistake last time.
You got more, you got more.
Going around.
That's a good suggestion. In 2011, when we started this, the province gave nothing to start with, and we took it on. And for 15 years, they haven't contributed basically a dime to the actual restorative justice program that has been carried on the community. And if we look back on the statistics, we've got more than, if you wish, if there's a value, I'd like to say it's priceless, than our money's worth. And I don't think that they have it even in their vernacular. And I think we should ask them not only not to restore, but where does it fit in what they're doing? Because I'm not so sure they're aware of it. And I think a lot of people don't really understand, present company here does, what the restorative justice system does and how it works. And so I think we should do that. The other thing I was going to mention, I apologize, I'd like to see this report be put on our website. I think it's important that the community know that we have a restorative justice and we deal with it in that manner as well. But I totally support the letter.
Thank you. Councillor Au?
Well, I think perhaps, we should do more than just a letter, we have been doing that for so many years. Perhaps, now I'm not on this committee, right? I cannot make a motion, but perhaps, what we can do is give them the bill, asking them to for recovery of the money or the grants that we've given all these years. That may get some attention, right? When you say that we want this money back, they have to answer us because there's a formal request. Yeah, let's see how they react.
Okay, so letter to the province, fund restorative justice, and asking where does restorative fit in crime prevention and
Move all 4 recommendations.
put the report on the website. Okay, so moved. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And number 6A, mobility devices. Councillor Heed, you had.
Yes, and the superintendent of the RCMP, I believe, I'll have a few questions with respect to what we can do on this. So we've been inundated with complaints. I know some of the other councillors have too. I received phone calls first thing this morning, 7 o'clock this morning, from someone complaining, and I've received 4 in the last 2 days, someone complaining about someone on their e-scooter. Wasn't your son?
No, my kids are, my kids' scooters are broken. They're riding conventional bicycles now. So.
E-scooters and e-bikes, and obviously well over the speed of what they were supposed to be doing. And I know there is, I don't know if it's the governor or the mechanism to limit the speed on it, but they're retrofitting this, and it's not only the e-scooters, it's the e-bikes, and they're driving these. And, as the person told me this morning, it's got to be on Steveston, just on the walkway there last night at about 50K, just going in and out of people. And there's got to be something we can do about this. With respect to this. This person was complaining to me that he phoned the bylaw people and said, well, it's not the bylaw people can enforce that moving offense under the Motor Vehicle Act. So I just want to put it out there because we're going to get more and more complaints come in with respect to this simply because of the nice weather. So I talked to the superintendent about this earlier today, so I'm hoping that she can give us some advice on what we can do, what they can do, and whether we need to look at something from a municipal point of view away from the RCMP on the enforcement. So just wondering what the comments are.
Yes, unfortunately, I think, yes, we're seeing a lot of problems with the e-scooter. And I think this is a typical items or mean of transportation that is actually outselling us and outperforming meaning the ability of us to actually enforce it properly. Like they're actually so in advance with the speed and everything that the law is actually trying to catch up to it in the meantime. The only thing that we have in current days is the system and the processes and the techniques and the tools that we have at our hands, sorry. And, but there is a few things that we can do. What we've been doing is mostly all education and enforcement. So we all know that these are under an act, the specific act, and they can be enforced only when they are actually using this e-bike while they're actually supposed to be in area where they're supposed to be. When they are not, then if fall under the Motor Vehicle Act. And there is a few things that we can do in pathways, for instance. I was asked to think outside the box in regards to what can we possibly do in regards to those. And I think this is an issue that actually is a community issue. It's not just the RCMP. And it's going to need to be continuous enforcement, continuous education of the public. But we can do things maybe in certain areas where we see them all the time. We have these signage that actually shows the speed limit, but we can definitely have some of those in those pathways. It might come up to be a little bit strange for people that use their bicycles that are not electrically driven or that are actually powered to see those there. But that would actually kind of tell people the speed they're going right now, it's not appropriate. And they're going to have like somewhat the peer pressure as well, because you're going to have the people actually walking, jogging, using these other bicycles that are not powered, that actually would see these people using it at high speed. We can use maybe speed bumps in some of these areas. I know it's not a very popular thing, but we can definitely use some of those in there. And I would say that we just need to have more education in the communities. We are committed to educate all new members in our new cadets or new members coming to our community, as it is a pilot project in our community, to ensure that we do enforcement as well as education. Going to school is going to be one thing as well, but this is really what we can do together.
I think those are great ideas, and I'm hoping that whether it's, working hand in glove with the Richmond RCMP and the superintendent staff, and possibly Mr. Corrado from bylaws. I know their enforcement is limited on this, but I think we've got to have some city staff member working in conjunction with the RCMP, because those are great ideas. I didn't even think of the speed bump on those, multi-use pathway. Maybe we're going to have to look at that. The speed signs, yeah, I think it's a great idea. And of course, enforcement and education is always part of it. So, Madam Chair, I'm hoping that we can have the superintendent and her people work with someone in the city from our whether it's bylaws or traffic engineering, to come up with some creative solutions. I really like what the superintendent has brought forward here, and I think that would be a good starting point.
Mhm. Thank you. Yeah, and you mentioned the communication platform, and I understand that the city will be advertising its $29 active pass in the schools, and at the same time, when we're sending out information to the children in the schools, there's a huge range, but then, and including groups like KPU, Trinity, like the older schools, information going out to them as their people are coming or going or transitioning into a new semester. It might be the time to include that at the same time before kids are let out for school. So partnering with the school board on that as well.
So who would we appoint, or who would we ask, or we leave it up to?
I think
Tony,
I think they've heard and they'll take it away. Okay, thanks.
We also can actually do our part in there. Our communication team is actually always readily available with those secondary school, so we can do that as well.
Maybe you can create another video that'll get 10 million views.
To the chair, I just note the open source, the Richmond News article that talked about an RCMP crackdown where 17 tickets were issued for riding on a sidewalk. 5 tickets were issued for not wearing a helmet during a 2-day blitz. In addition, if vehicles are modified to increase the speed, I believe there's a requirement to have a license, because they're considered a motorcycle license. So there could be enforcement vis-a-vis not having a license, and separate insurance as well.
Okay, thank you. And so I guess there's a educational piece out with that as well. Councillor Galanders.
Thank you. And I have a question about that in particular. I wanted to know which modifications are legal and which modifications are illegal, because we've got some kids in our neighborhood, I think, that have put like gas engines on their bikes, and they're so loud, and then the people are souping these things up. And so could you clarify, are any of them modifications illegal?
So by law, it can only have 500 watts powered, and it can only go no more than 25 kilometers per hour.
And then if they do a modification to exceed that,
Well, then.
then it gets into this licensing thing?
Well, no.
Or it's
still
illegal,
in the
period.
act. Still in the act, it actually now, because they're speeding, they're going against, and their vehicle, not their vehicle, I'm sorry, their scooters are no longer permitted within this act, so that we can tow it. Well, I'm sorry, it's not towing it, but we can take it off the
Confiscate
road.
it?
That's
Are they
right.
allowed to be on the road with the cars?
They're
That's
allowed to
over
be on the
25?
road as long as the road is 50 kilometers and less, and they must be on the right side. So if they actually zoning is 60 kilometers and over, they are not allowed to be on the road. They must be in shared pathway or cycling road, cycling path.
Okay, just a follow-up question. And so do we ever monitor to see if there's businesses in Richmond that are even undercover or like not officially providing these modifications, and we can crack down on them?
Well, the bottom line is it's not illegal. So you will be able to find several brand make of scooters and unicycles, like the one with only one wheel. They are illegal to ride because they actually exceed the power and exceed the speed, but there's nothing preventing them from selling them.
Selling them. So maybe that's a provincial thing, right?
And in addition to this, when they're selling them, there is no signage or nothing to tell the purchaser
That
that
it's
this is
not
illegal.
allowed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, no, those were all good ideas. And just one more thing is that we might want to have a discussion about this in Public Works as well, because I know that I've just been seeing on social media and whatnot that people are saying that there is nowhere to ride in some certain spots on 3 Road, that we don't have, our bike lanes aren't going all the way through yet. And that's why people are on the sidewalk and where those tickets were issued. And that it's a super, super wide area. So maybe there's something that we can do in between, like before our bike lanes are done, to section off part of the sidewalk for riding or something, because like if there isn't a safe path, then yeah. So.
Okay, we can bring that up at Public Works then. That's what you'd like. Okay, Councillor Hobbs.
Thank you, through the chair. Well, thanks for adding it on. Councillor Heed, I had a couple complaints this weekend too, actually. So I don't know if they're the same people, but I think that the things that have been outlined are great initiatives. And I think the point of sale contact is something somebody brought up this weekend. What are people doing at the point of sale for different things? I think the challenge is, and you kind of touched on it, is technology often outpaces the law, and it's hard to keep up to it in terms of enforcement and education too. But I do think it's important because, especially as these things proliferate in numbers of different kind of modes of transportation on the road, we're probably going to start, unfortunately, seeing more injuries and that kind of thing too, and nobody wants to see that. So I think education will be a big part of it. And one of the things I would be interested in is, when we look at it, is, and really, it's going to be hard to collect these stats because unless it's reported to ICBC or the police, it's pretty inconsistent. But the injuries and collisions that have taken place, I know Lime keeps track of theirs, but I mean the private ones. So yeah, it's an important issue, and it's probably going to get more critical as time goes by, especially in the summer. Thanks.
Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, thanks very much. I agree with everything that everybody said, but I guess I think we need to enforce what we can control already. And I think that's something that we need to do. Our standard speed in Richmond is 50K. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's 50K everywhere, basically, except, well, so in other words, the speed limit is already designated. And I guess my question, and it came from the Committee on Accessibility, which I used to, is some of them are so quiet that they come up behind these people with walkers, wheelchairs, etc., and they're not mobile. And if somebody's there, even if you rang the bell at the last minute, these people couldn't move. They're not quick enough. They're not able. So I guess I'd like to see this referred to staff and to a committee to look at it. I'm not as familiar with the bikes as some of you that have children on it, but you mentioned models, etc. Maybe we should be licensing them and register them just like we do bicycles. You know, you go down to Thompson, the kids come in and they register their bikes and whatever for different reasons. But I'm just wondering, what we're doing. I'd hate to see us have to put traffic calming on the railway, area or somewhere else, or on 3 Road. You know, you go down the bike lane where there is a bike lane, and then you have a V or something like that to get through or whatever. So I think it's a bigger thing, as Councillor Holmes was alluding to. This thing is only going to proliferate as the price of those things come down, and more people are going to use it as a method of transportation. So I don't know where Councillor Heat's going on this, but I'd like to see it referred to the staff to come back to look at all the aspects that have been discussed around here. We need some action. In other words, the rest of us are going to get these other phone calls because you guys didn't do anything about it, but not that you did. You did. You're putting it on the table. I'm not. I think that should be the referral, and I'm not sure who on staff. Maybe staff, professional staff, could tell us who it should go to. I guess to the general manager, the GM of community safety, to set up an. So I want to support everything that's there. And the other thing is, just like what they were doing as my compliment to lead off this committee, is we publish a campaign that we're going to enforce helmets, speed, whatever. And I don't know what the penalties are, if there are any penalties, Chairperson, for that. What do you do? Take the bike away or whatever? You can't give him 24-hour suspension or whatever. So anyhow, those are the all things, but I think, and I'm glad it's going to go to Public Works, and I think it's only going to get bigger. It has gotten big, and those little, you know, one step scooters that I thought they go just as fast. So put them all in there.
To the chair, to Councillor McNulty, we're certainly able to put together a team to look at all the creative options that are available and report back. I would suggest that that would occur after it proceeds to the next committee, so that it's consolidated. We don't have different referrals.
Councillor Heed?
Yes, quickly, I'm not looking for a referral. I'm not looking for a lengthy period before everything gets back to me. I guess I'm looking for us to get some action going forward and staff to work together with the RCMP and our Public Works people. Tony has heard this, the superintendent has heard this, and Mr. Craddo's heard this. I don't see anyone from traffic here, but let's just get going on it. Let's.
Okay, so staff's heard. I think you're gonna start moving ahead on this. Is that correct? Or do you want a referral for this?
We're Earl, or as Councillor Heed,
Direction?
direction's
Thank you.
fine.
I think that's probably fine. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you guys working together. Looking forward to putting some bells on some cats on the greenways. Thank you. Okay, managers report. Do we have any managers reports? Okay, thank you. We are adjourned.